Hi there. Welcome to Adventures in Visibility. Today we are exploring Facebook, how to navigate the social network in order to get better engagement from our fan page so that more people see our content and we are getting better visibility. Hello, I am Denise Wakeman, your host and guide for Adventures in Visibility. And if you'd like to get updates for future guests and when I'm going to be doing the next show, you can go to adventuresinvisibility.com and sign up there. And also just to let you know, brand new Adventures in Visibility is now available as a podcast. So you can go to adventuresinvisibilitypodcast.com and subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud, whichever is your preferred way of listening when you're on the go. Now, today we are going to be talking about Facebook because, things are changing all the time on that network, as we know. And if you are doing any business on the web, you know that some of your customers are there on Facebook. And so, even though right now we're on Google Plus, and I know some plussers are like, Facebook, I don't know. But, it's important. If you're doing business online, you've got to be there too. You've got to. So today, I have a Facebook Pro with me to answer our questions about getting better engagement before you start paying for ads. My guest today is Amy Porterfield. She is a total pro and expert at Facebook engagement. Let me just give you a quick introduction before we dive in. Amy Porterfield is the co-author of Facebook Marketing All-in-One for Dummies and the creator and host of the popular podcast Online Marketing Made Easy, which I highly recommend. I've been listening to it actually for a while now, and she has great guests and does great interviews, and she also has a nice little bit that she does about Ask Amy. So you can ask her questions and she may answer them. So Amy has worked with mega brands such as Harley-Davidson Motorcycles and Peak performance coach Tony Robbins, where she oversaw the content development team for 6 years and collaborated on multiple online marketing campaigns. She currently creates online programs to teach entrepreneurs and small businesses across industries how to leverage social media to gain greater exposure, attract quality leads, and turn fans and followers into loyal customers. Welcome, Amy. I'm so excited that you're here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is truly a delight. It's so glad we finally get to connect again.
I know. I'm really excited. And how this came up is that at Social Media Marketing World, I was doing a live hangout on air or on location at the conference, and somebody said, "Hey, when is Amy Porterfield going to do a hangout?" I said, "Well, I'll ask her." I'm not an expert at these hangouts, so it was nice for you to get me on and kind of hold my hand. I've only done a few, but every time I do them, I remember how much I enjoy them. So I'm so glad we're here. Good, good. Well, we're glad you're here too, and there's a lot of excited people out there. We've got Mia Voss and Leela Martin, and a whole slew of people who are been tweeting and sharing the hangout because they want to know what you've got to say for us today. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right to the meat of things. I want to start with this whole idea that engagement has been organic reach, I guess I should say, and engagement has been really dropping a lot in the last few months on Facebook. I know you know that. I know a lot of people are frustrated about that. The last number I heard is that maybe 6% of the content you post on your fan page actually gets seen in the newsfeed. Is that correct?
I've heard between 6 and 16%. I mean, there's a little bit of a range, but it's really low. So I know that's frustrating for sure.
Okay, then what we want to do today is talk about how we can start building our engagement, which engagement then increases reach. So before we start advertising, we know that that's what Facebook wants us to do. They want us to pay to play, and that's fair. They're a public company, etc. But before we get to the point where we are paying for ads, what do we need to do? And I'd like to just get some ideas from you about increasing that engagement so that more people see what we're doing before we pay. Perfect. Yeah, I think that's a great way to set it up. So when it comes to engagement, what I first love to say is that we first have to define what does engagement mean in Facebook terms, because some people think it means one thing versus another, and it's very clear what engagement means on Facebook. It means when someone clicks like, either likes your page or likes your post, they comment, they share it, or they click a link in your post. There's really only 4 ways to get engagement on Facebook. So like, share, comment, or click on a link. And so if people aren't doing that, then Facebook thinks you're getting 0 engagement on your Facebook page. So when we define it like that, it clears things up a little bit.
Absolutely. So is there a hierarchy in those 4 things about, the value, I guess, would be the,
yes.
Like a comment more valuable than a like?
100%. That's what I was going to say. Usually what we hear is that a comment is the one you want the most. That is the highest valued engagement that you can get. And then from there, we would think it would be the share. And then I don't know between the click and the like. I haven't heard much about that, but I have heard some concrete data that comment is really what you want.
Okay, so that's interesting because, in other social networks like Twitter, for example, or even on Google+, sharing is really the highest form of flattery. As I once heard Guy Kawasaki say, a retweet was the highest form of flattery on a social network or on Twitter. But yeah. So you're saying that probably that a comment is probably more powerful than a share even.
I think they are probably really close, but from what I read, Facebook is giving more value to a comment.
Okay, well that's good to know. So how do we get people to comment?
Yes, great question. So I always say that you want to think in terms of action-worthy posts. And action-worthy posts are those posts that obviously get people to do something. And if we're talking comments in particular, we need to figure out what does our audience want to talk about. Now, I want to back up just a little bit because a lot of people, especially if you're new on Facebook or struggling on Facebook, they gravitate toward, first I've got to get a lot of fans, so I have to work on my fan base. And they really worry that they don't have enough fans. And this really skews your success, truly, because that's not really where you want to focus. I always say, let's try to get to 500 fans. I think that's a solid foundation, and it might take a while to get there, but once you get to 500 fans, I think you need to really focus on engagement and then moving those fans to actually do something in terms of getting on your email list or purchasing or whatever you want them to do. But in terms of getting them to take action, that's where you want to say, okay, I've got this fan base. I mean, who wouldn't want 500 people sitting in a room listening to you? So we get really skewed with those numbers. I remember I was at an event and someone was saying, don't think you need 100,000 fans to have success. You do not, because you don't need 100,000 people to buy for you to have a really good revenue. Most people don't, at least. So we get back to let's focus on the fans we have, and let's not really focus on getting more fans, but finding out what do our fans really want from us. And really understanding that is what is going to get you those comments. Asking the questions they really truly care about, posting blog posts and content and third-party content that they actually want to click on and read. And so I really think it comes back to, you hear it all the time, but you've got to know your audience.
Ah, yes.
I know, and it's not a fun thing. It's a little bit frustrating and overwhelming. Like, do I have to survey my audience, ask them more questions? But yeah, you really do have to know your audience.
Okay, so what makes an action-worthy post? You want them to take action. You want them to comment. So questions? Is that, okay.
Okay, so an action-worthy post would be something that easily allows them to easily engage. So let's talk about questions first. A lot of people ask questions on Facebook and get crickets because they're not asking the right questions. And believe me, I've been there. So we've all been there. But one thing you need to make sure of is you're asking a question that's easy to answer. So I always tell this story, but way back when I first started social media, I was consulting one-on-one with companies. And I was consulting for this charity that helped mothers and children in Africa. So on Mother's Day, to get more donors, they asked, what's your favorite story about your mom? And maybe 4 or 5 people answered, and this page had a lot of engagement and fans. And what I know for sure is that people don't have time to write a novel. They're multitasking. They're clicking here, watching there, doing this, doing that. You have a sliver of their attention on Facebook. So because of that, ask questions that are very easy to answer. One of my favorites is, what's one word that best describes whatever? So what's one word that best describes how you want to spend your week? Or what's one word that best describes how you're going to spend your weekend? Or something like that. So the one word kind of thing really works. I remember when I taught this to Darren Rouse. I did a webinar for his audience, and this is one of my tips. And he started using it on his photo blog or his photo Facebook page. So he posted a picture, and he said, what's the first word you think of when you see this picture? And he got a flood of comments because that's easy, and it's kind of fun as well. So easy to answer questions is the #1 way to get more comments.
Okay, well, what about in terms of your business? I mean, you want to, are you suggesting asking questions that relate to your business, or just any question? Because we're talking, you know, this is a business audience, they're entrepreneurs, small business owners. You know, should we be veering off track, or should just to get the engagement, or should we stay focused on what our niche is?
This is one of my favorite questions, because I am a business girl. If you put me in a room with all my friends, I'd still want to talk about business all day long. It's my favorite topic. I know. And my husband hates that, but it's the truth. However, what I know for sure is that when I talk about my dog Gus, when I talk about my family vacations on my business page, when I invite people in, I get more comments, more shares, more likes, more clicks. But here's the deal, and that's uncomfortable to me sometimes because I'm here to teach. I want to offer great value around Facebook. So why am I getting more clicks on those personal things? Well, we all just want to connect on that personal level. It's human nature. But here's how I explain it to my audience, and it started to make more sense to me when I thought about it this way. I want to get my promotional post in the newsfeed more, meaning when I do a launch, I want to make sure that when I post, that even when I'm not paying for ads, when I post on my page, a majority of my fan base are seeing my post. The way the majority of your fan base will see your post is that you have to boost engagement, meaning the more clicks, shares, likes, comments you get today will help you tomorrow in terms of getting out in the newsfeed. Because I'm sure people have heard this, but Facebook is very vague about this, but there's a scoring that they do, and the more engagement you get, the more often they push you out into the newsfeed of your fans. So, and it's kind of individualized. If I'm always clicking on Denise's stuff, I'm going to see her more in my newsfeed. So because of that, what I always say is take advantage of that human nature that we want to connect on a personal basis and add more of that to your daily Facebook post. And when you do that, you really are ramping up the engagement so that when you are ready to promote, those posts will not get as many likes, comments, shares, and clicks. However, they will get seen by more people because you've already, what I say, primed the pump. You've done the work in the advance, so that when you, or in the beginning, so that when you do promote, those posts will be seen more. Because there's no doubt about it, when you promote, you're going to get a lot less engagement. So do the work up front. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and you know, I can see I've been doing it all wrong.
Well, believe me, I struggle with it every day because I am always talking about business. So I need to really push myself to post those personal things.
Yeah, I post the personal stuff on my profile, and I do get a lot of engagement. Yeah, I mean, every time I post my kitty, Bo, or Pele, you know, lots of people respond. Or when I talk about my adventures, you know, where I'm traveling, I do that on my profile, but I can see that I should probably post a little bit more on my page too.
It's so true, but let's talk for a minute, if you don't mind, about the profile and the page and the whole engagement thing, because I get this question all the time. So a lot of people will come to me and say, Amy, I get massive engagement on my profile. And just to be clear, so we're all on the same page, the profile is your personal persona. It's you. It's where people have to request to be your friend. Your page is where we talk business and where people become a fan. So on your personal profile, that makes sense that you're likely getting more engagement. People like to connect with people versus a logo or a business. Even my business page is my personal persona, but I still see when I do post on my profile, I get a lot of engagement. The thing is, there's two things. One, keep posting on both. I remember I learned from Mari Smith that why not go for double the exposure? You don't have to post the exact thing at the same time, but you can post similar information. I just skew my profile to be more personal and business page to be more business. I rarely post on my profile because I like to bring all the traffic to my page, but if you're having that conundrum that you're having more profile engagement, keep posting on that profile, but mix in some business and invite people to come to your page once in a while. So I think you could definitely still use both.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I do is if I'm posting content that I want to be seen by as many people as possible, I post it on my page and then maybe the next day share it to my profile.
Yeah, so. Smart, definitely.
Try that. But I tried one of the things, you have an article about how to increase fan engagement, and I think this is where I read it, that you asked people to, you asked a question in an email and had them respond on Facebook. You had already posted it on Facebook and you sent them to that Facebook. So I said, I'm going to test this.
And
knowing that we were going to be talking, I'm going to try this little tip here. And so I asked a question about who people wanted to hear on upcoming adventures in visibility, and I sent it out as an email and directed them to answer on Facebook, and I did, and it worked. It absolutely
I love that.
Worked.
That
I was like, cool.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up because I definitely wanted to mention that. You explained it perfectly. When you email out around the topic you're talking about in your email, ask for some feedback. An easy to answer question, but have them actually click a link and post on your Facebook page. One thing I learned that I kind of started to do it a little bit differently is I will actually create a post on my Facebook page that asks the question that I asked in my email. So let's pretend it's what's your biggest struggle with Facebook. So I actually create the post on my Facebook page, and then as we know, every Facebook post has its own URL. So I click on the post and I get the URL of just that post, and that's the link I use in my email. So I say click here and answer, so they know exactly where to answer, because people got a little confused the first time I did it, like, do I start my own post on your page? Where do I answer? So I made it really easy for them, and that was fantastic. So that's probably my favorite way to boost engagement on a Facebook page.
Ooh, I'm glad I remembered that then.
Me too. I had it in my notes.
and what you just said is exactly how I did it. I made the post first and then used that post to direct people to, because I know people do, then they don't really show up as well if people are just posting their own content on your page, right? Anyway, I don't want to get into too much nitty-gritty here about that, but folks, this was a hot tip. This is a hot tip from Amy, and I'd like to see you try it and then let us know how it worked for you. Okay, let's go. I think we've covered the action-worthy posts. Now, there's been a lot of talk, there's been a couple of big changes on Facebook in the last week or so, and I would like to get to those because people have probably heard about them, aren't sure what they mean. And the first one is something that probably a lot of people were doing because that's what they were being taught, so they were doing the right thing, and that is doing like gating. So can you explain what that is and why we're not going to be able to do it anymore?
Yes. So what like gating is if you ever go to a Facebook page and they say, click like to get our 5 tips to XYZ, or even better, click like to get a 50% discount code. So there's a gate there that you can't get that free content or that incentive until you click like. Well, Facebook is saying no more. They don't want to see that happen. And after November 5th of this year, you can no longer use the apps that do the light gating. You can use those apps for other things. Like there's a lot of companies that offer that as one of their opportunities, but you can't use the light gating after November 5th. And the reason they said that they've done this is they don't want you to get likes just because you're giving something away for free or incentivizing. They really want to boost the quality of the entire social network, meaning they want you to click like because you really want to hear from that company and you're interested. So because of that, they're taking it away, which is a bummer, but to be really honest, I've never been a huge fan of the light gating. I used to teach it way back when, but for the last few years, I don't like a barrier. I'd rather just get that like and then start promoting in different ways. And here's the deal. I firmly believe that a like is so less valuable than an email address. And so what I like to do, and the strategy I use, is that I post on my Facebook page often to get people to sign up for a free webinar or a free hangout or, you know, a free guide. So I'm constantly giving away free value and sending people to an opt-in page. You can do that inside of Facebook or outside of Facebook, but I've really changed my focus. And instead of focusing on likes as much, I'm focusing on leads, and I think that's really important. And sure, it's easy for me to say because I have almost 100,000 Facebook fans, but they're not all seeing my content anyway. So don't get stuck on that like number. If you get 10 new leads a day from Facebook, that's pretty awesome. I think you could do more than that, but just starting out, that would be fantastic. So don't get stuck on that like anyway.
Thank you for saying that about, you know, that it's important to move people off of your Facebook page and become a lead on your email list, because really, you know, let's be real clear, we don't own and control Facebook. And we've all said this many times. I was having a conversation with Mia Voss about this yesterday, who's watching now, so she's probably chuckling to herself. But you know, we just, you know, we don't want to be in the position where we lose contact with those people. So I'm really glad to hear that. I never used light gating myself because I thought it was kind of an artificial way of getting people to connect.
Agree.
So okay. So what's actually, I want to just bring in a comment here from Melita. She really loved the word of the day thing in response to a painting or picture, and I know her husband is a painter, so this will be a good tip for her to use for promoting his work. So thank you, Melita, for that. And Lisa Hovnanian says this information is amazing. Yes, it is, and I'm glad you're here, Lisa. Thank you. It is amazing, as Amy always is. All right, so oops, let me gotta get myself out of here now.
It's so fun that you can see what people comment. I love that.
Yes. Okay, I need to go back to you. So why don't we? The second thing that has come up is about clickbait.
Yes.
Clickbait. I'd never heard that term. What's clickbait? And
so
why do we need to worry about it?
Perfect. And just to make sure, I'm still seeing that comment, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
you
good.
are, but they aren't.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry about that. You know what you're doing. What am I talking about? I'm a newbie at Hangouts. Okay, so clickbait. So basically what we've done, and I have taught for years, so I'm totally guilty of this, is asking for the like. So basically in a post you might say, click like if you agree with this quote. That's one of my favorites that I used to do. So I'd find a great quote that I knew would resonate with my audience, and I'd say, click like if you agree. Well, when you do that, Facebook is now, when you do that, you get a lot of likes. It actually works really, really well. But Facebook is now saying, we don't like that. They're, again, a little bit vague about this, but they are saying that they are not going to reward you for engagement if you're getting likes like that. If you're baiting for those likes or those clicks, that is not what they want to see. Now, based on the research that I've done, I haven't gotten a clear understanding of if you ask people to click on a link or if you're just asking for the like, what Facebook really doesn't
what's the one that they're actually frowning on. However, this is how I explain it. I would word things in a way that's not directly baiting people. So you could say, you could talk about an article that you have and then have people, tell people where to go find out more. That's a great way to do it. But I'd probably stay away from click here kind of stuff because it could be damaging your engagement.
Ooh, we don't want to do that, do we?
Right. And I still do it once in a while just to experiment because I can't help myself. But I do no longer ask for the like. I would definitely, and when I say that, I mean ask for the like in the post. We're not talking about asking for the fan, but asking for the like in the post. I'd really stay away from that.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't really quite sure what that whole baiting thing was. Yeah. So the thing is to be honest and straightforward about what you want people to do. So, learn more. That's a good way to do it because obviously, you're not posting your whole content on a Facebook post. That doesn't really work that well anymore. So
exactly.
Okay, there's a question that it was way too long for me to put up here, and so I had written it down earlier from Laura Williams, who couldn't be here today, so I said I would ask. She asked, is there a way to find people in your niche other than the friend recommendations?
Okay, find people in your niche. So definitely, what I would use graph search inside Facebook. So graph search, just to make sure everyone knows what it is, it's that big long search box across the top in Facebook. I say that big long search box because if yours is really short, that means you don't have graph search yet, which is rare. I know a few months ago people in the UK still hadn't had it, but I'm pretty sure it's rolling out for most. So when you have graph search, basically what that is that you can type in different things in graph search to find the coolest information possible. So I could actually type in people, coaches, nutritional coaches on Facebook or whatever it might be. And you can get a long list of people that fall under that criteria. The greatest thing and the worst thing about Facebook is that they know everything about us. So I will say that their search capabilities are pretty impressive. There's this great article from John Loomer, and John Loomer talked about graph search way back when. It was not very recent, but it's still very relevant, and I reference that article all the time, where he gives you all these formulas to how to use graph search to find great information. It kind of will blow your mind. So if you just do a search for John Loomer graph search, you'll probably find it, but I feel like it's one of the best articles out there about the topic.
Okay, well, I'll try to find it too and post the link on the event page too for folks, because
great,
that would probably help me as well. So
it's such a good article.
Yeah. So we're just about at the bottom of the half hour here, and I wanted to ask what you have coming down the pike, because you're doing your podcast, which I noticed isn't Facebook centric. Online marketing. So is that a direction you're going in, or are you still, hanging on to, the Facebook Pro, moniker?
Facebook definitely is my area of specialty. It's what I know most about and where I can help people get the most success. But there's so much that goes into Facebook. So I teach email marketing and list building in general, and just overall engagement in terms of how to find out what your audience wants and how to talk to your audience. All of that feeds back into Facebook. So I thought I want to create a podcast that does more than Facebook, but everything I teach pretty much helps you on Facebook. So that's kind of why I branched out a little bit.
Perfect. It makes total sense. Total sense. And what else do you have coming up?
Well, let's see. In September, mid-September, I have my final launch of the year on Facebook Marketing Profit Lab, which is my flagship program. And I'm excited, so thank you for asking about it, because I'm excited. This time we created a 3-part free content-rich video series. So before we even get into the launch, we're going to release a 3-part video series that really teaches you some of the basics of building a Facebook marketing plan. So that's coming up soon. So amyporterfield.com will have some information, and I'm sure you could link to it later.
Okay, great. I just want to bring up a question here from Phyllis. She's asking, going back to the like baiting, isn't like baiting posting titles that take you off Facebook?
Oh, okay. So yeah, because the clickbaiting and like baiting, I guess a little bit different in terms of that. So let's see, isn't like baiting posting titles that take you off Facebook? I don't understand that. Phyllis, tell me more about the posting titles. You read so many different things that I'm not exactly sure of what that posting titles means. And Phyllis knows this stuff, so I take it from Phyllis for sure.
Okay. I want to just here, let's post another. Whoops. Oh, I'm totally messing up here. Okay. I'm hitting all the wrong buttons right now.
No problem.
I apologize for that. Shannon Hernandez says that he loves him some graph search as a research tool. So
I agree. It's so good. It's so good. One real quick thing I just thought about that I wanted to throw in here because we're talking about engagement and how to get more action with that. One thing I didn't mention that I just can't get off the call without mentioning is another great way to get comments and likes, actually, is that, you know, we come back to talking personal versus business. And if you really want to talk about business, include your audience in those conversations. And one of my favorite ways to do this, my great friend Pat Flynn does this really well, is anytime he's working on something, he posts about it and he has people choose something. Something as simple as choose A or B, which slide presentation looks the best, what template looks the best, or which logo, or what do you think of this title? Asking people about your business but getting their opinion is a great way to get comments. So I just wanted to throw that out there, just popped in my head real quick, but I think it's a great way to bring it back to business but not make it all about you, which is really important. We got to make it about them.
Right. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we can't really ignore, even though this is about, you know, getting engagement without having to buy an ad. I mean, the reality is that we do have to invest some money from time to time. What kind of content do you usually recommend actually going the ad route for?
Ooh, I love this question because I'm very clear on how you should use Facebook ads. And in my opinion, use Facebook ads to turn a fan or a non-fan into a lead, a Facebook user into a lead. You can use Facebook ads and drive directly to a sales page. More often than not, that's not going to get you the biggest bang for your buck. So if you give away a discount code, free shipping, 5 tips to XYZ, a free webinar, all of that kind of great free content, your irresistible giveaway, your lead magnet, if you lead with a lead magnet in a Facebook ad and then turn those leads into customers through email marketing, to me, that is the best strategy you can use. I use it every single day to grow my business, and that's how I teach it. So I'm so glad you asked.
Okay, yeah, and that wasn't you know, on our list, but I know that it is important. I do, you know, do occasional ads, and you know, sometimes that's just what we need to do, and it does bump up the engagement quite a bit, or at least the reach, you know, and then that can help the engagement down the road.
Yes.
Okay, so I know you're very busy, and you know, I want to respect your time, but I would like to ask you one final question, and this is a question I ask all of my guests because this is about adventure, and today we've had a bit of an adventure in Facebook, and I'm all about adventure in business, adventure in life, so I would like to know from you if you would share your most memorable adventure. And, you know, whatever, you know, travel, business, family, life, love, whatever. So we'd love to hear what your most memorable adventure is.
So when I think of adventure, like I said, I'm kind of a business-minded kind of girl. So right away I think business. But what I'm thinking here has to do with business and personal. My biggest adventure has started the day I left my corporate job. I used to work for Tony Robbins, and it was a great job, but I wanted freedom and I wanted to do my own thing. So the day I left, which was I think about 4 years ago today, or this month or whatever.
Wow.
No, I shouldn't say this month. That's way dramatic. I just mean about 4 years ago. And everything in my life has changed, and my personal life has changed, my marriage has changed, my relationship to my son has changed, and my my view on what I get to do in this world and the opportunities I have are dramatically different. And so it is an adventure that I know will keep going and going and changing, but I have to say that's been made the biggest impact on me and allowed me to give back more than I ever could. So that's pretty much my most memorable adventure I've had so far that keeps going.
I love it. I love it because I think that, you know, what we do as entrepreneurs, what we do every day can be seen as an adventure too, and that's how I like to embrace my life. And so I really appreciate you saying that because it does impact everything we do and everybody we know, you know, in our lives.
So true.
They're so true. So what's the best place for people to find you?
You can find me at amyporterfield.com or come over to my Facebook page at facebook.com/Amy Porterfield. Thanks for asking.
Definitely, we got to go join you on Facebook. Now, okay, so I've got one more question that I didn't prepare you for, but you said that you wanted to be convinced that Hangouts, you know, were, you know, and Google Plus was worth paying attention to. Have I convinced you a little bit today?
Oh, you've convinced me. I love this. I love the personal connection and the live, and I don't do it enough. So I will be doing a Google Hangout hopefully in the next month, let's say.
Okay, good. And if you have any questions, feel free to ping me and ask.
I will. So I'm going to hold you to it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, most of my people in my audience know I'm a huge Google fangirl and I'm a huge Hangout fangirl. So, you know, my goal is to, you know, rope people in, get them here, you know. So
exactly. You got me.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so remember, you can get advance notice of Adventures in Visibility at adventuresinvisibility.com. That's where I send out email reminders about what's coming up and who I'll be talking to, what our adventures will be. And also I send reminders just about an hour before. Shannon Hernandez, who's on today, said he appreciated getting that email reminder. So if you appreciate that too, go ahead and sign up at adventuresinvisibility.com. I want to thank you, Amy, for being my guest today. This has been great. You really shared some fantastic tips about engagement on Facebook, and I know that the audience was loving it. I didn't have time to pull everybody in who was commenting, but I hope you'll have a few minutes to go and review the comments on the event page and see what people are saying, because you are loved. You are loved, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, and y'all, thank you for being here today. Thank you for participating, and I will see you next time on Adventures in Visibility. Have an adventurous day.